Impact Report, forecasting 50% expansion in electric vehicle adoption across 4 key sectors by 2025. Date, February 9, 2025. Overview. Electric vehicles (EVs) are poised for significant growth, with projections indicating a 50% increase in adoption across 4 critical sectors: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy by the year 2025. This anticipated growth is driven by a combination of policy support, technological advancements, and shifting consumer preferences, positioning EVs as a crucial component in global climate change mitigation strategies. Key findings. 1. Automotive sector. Global sales surge. In 2023, global sales of electric cars reached approximately 14 million, marking a 35% increase from the previous year. The majority of these sales occurred in key markets: China 60%, Europe 25%, and the United States 10%. Future projections. By 2030, it is projected that electric vehicles will account for 40% to 50% of total automotive sales. In China, the share of electric vehicle sales for new cars is expected to exceed 50% by 2025. China's leadership. The country's new energy vehicle roadmap aims for electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) to represent over 2/3 of total sales by 2030, underscoring its position as a global leader in EV adoption. 2. Public transportation. Electric bus adoption. The global market for electric buses is expected to grow significantly, with projections indicating that electric buses will account for 30% of total bus sales by 2035. Government initiatives. Countries like India and the UK are investing heavily in electric public transport, with India targeting 50,000 electric buses by 2027. Such initiatives are crucial for public transport electrification and are expected to drive sales to nearly 1 million electric buses by 2035. 3. Logistics and heavy-duty vehicles. Medium and heavy-duty trucks. The transition to electric trucks is progressing, albeit at a slower pace. By 2035, it is estimated that electric trucks will represent 20% to 30% of sales in major markets, supported by new emissions standards in the US and EU. Global MOU on zero-emission vehicles. A commitment from 33 countries aims for 100% zero-emission sales in medium and heavy-duty vehicles by 2040, reflecting a concerted effort to reduce transportation emissions. 4. Renewable energy integration. Synergy with renewable sources. The growth in EV adoption is closely linked to the expansion of renewable energy. Increased electricity demand from EVs is expected to be met through sustainable energy solutions, which is essential for achieving net zero emissions goals globally. Common themes across sources. Policy support. Across all sectors, government policies, including tax credits, subsidies, and emissions regulations, are pivotal in driving the transition to electric vehicles. The role of policy frameworks cannot be overstated, as they encourage both manufacturers and consumers to adopt EVs. Market dynamics. The automotive market is witnessing a trend towards larger electric vehicles, particularly SUVs, which offer higher profit margins for manufacturers. However, there is a growing emphasis on the need for more affordable small electric models to broaden market access. Timeline of events. 2023, significant growth in global EV sales, with China leading the market. New policies initiated globally to support electric bus programs. 2024, projected global EV sales to reach approximately 17 million. 2025, China expected to achieve a peak EV sales share of 50%. 2030, electric light-duty vehicles projected to account for 40% to 50% of total automotive sales globally. 2035, long-term targets set for electric buses, trucks, and overall vehicle electrification across major markets. Conclusion. The trajectory for electric vehicle adoption across the automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy sectors indicates a robust and promising future. With supportive policies increasing consumer demand and technological advancements, the transition to electric mobility is set to play a crucial role in shaping a sustainable future and addressing the challenges posed by climate change. The anticipated 50% expansion in EV adoption by 2025 is not merely a forecast but a necessary step towards a greener, more efficient, and sustainable global transportation system. References: International Energy Agency (IEA), Global EV Outlook 2024, Automotive Industry Reports and Forecasts. Note: this report encapsulates the expected growth and trends relating to electric vehicles and is based on data and forecasts available as of February 2025. Predictions may vary based on market developments and policy changes in the future. The content presents a detailed forecast of electric vehicle EV adoption across 4 key sectors: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy, projecting a 50% increase by 2025. It highlights significant trends, regional variations, and the interplay of policies and market dynamics that are shaping the EV landscape. Here are some counterintuitive insights gleaned from the material. 1. China's transition without subsidies. While it might be expected that the phase-out of subsidies would hinder EV sales in China, the evidence suggests that the market is maturing and can thrive without direct financial incentives. The continued growth in EV sales indicates a transition to a self-sustaining market, contradicting the common belief that subsidies are essential for the growth of the EV sector. 2. Focus on larger vehicles. Despite the environmental concerns associated with larger vehicles, the trend is moving towards larger electric SUVs and trucks rather than compact models. This is counterintuitive, as one might assume that a shift to electric vehicles would promote smaller, more efficient models to reduce overall emissions. Instead, consumer preference and manufacturers' profit margins are driving the market towards larger, more resource-intensive vehicles, which could lead to higher demand for critical materials and larger batteries. 3. Electric vehicle market growth in developing countries. The expectation may be that developing countries would lag in EV adoption due to economic constraints and infrastructure challenges. However, the content indicates that emerging markets are seeing significant growth in electric 2- and 3-wheelers, which are often more affordable and suited to local needs. This suggests that EV adoption can flourish in markets with different conditions than those seen in developed countries. 4. Second-hand EV market as a growth driver. The anticipated rise of the second-hand EV market may seem paradoxical in a time when new technology is often favored. However, as EVs mature, the increased availability of used models could significantly accelerate adoption among budget-conscious consumers, thereby creating a new pathway for market growth that contrasts with the typical trajectory observed in technology markets. 5. Government policies driving growth. While many may argue that market forces alone should dictate the growth of the EV sector, the content emphasizes that government policies, including emissions regulations and incentives for commercial fleets, are pivotal in driving adoption. This highlights a counterintuitive reality that without strong regulatory frameworks, even innovative technologies struggle to achieve widespread adoption. 6. Long-term projections versus short-term realities. The optimistic long-term projections of EV adoption rates may clash with current market realities where significant challenges remain. For instance, while projections suggest that electric trucks could represent up to 30% of sales by 2035, the current slow electrification in this segment indicates a disconnect between aspirations and practical challenges, such as battery limitations and charging infrastructure inadequacies. 7. Consumer preferences affecting market dynamics. It is assumed that consumers prioritize environmental benefits when choosing EVs. However, the data suggests that preferences are heavily influenced by vehicle size and features. This indicates that consumers may prioritize comfort and range over environmental considerations, thus complicating the narrative around the motivations for EV adoption. 8. Renewable energy correlation. There's an expectation that the growth of renewable energy would directly correlate with EV adoption. However, the content indicates that while there is a relationship, The demand for EVs is also driven by factors like government policies and market dynamics that may not be directly associated with renewable energy growth. 9. Battery costs and vehicle affordability. The assumption that falling battery costs will lead to more affordable electric cars may not hold true in the short term. The focus on larger vehicles and the increasing complexity of EV technology could keep prices high, suggesting that while battery prices may be declining, the overall cost of EVs may not decrease at the same rate, contradicting consumer expectations for affordability. 10. Emerging global competition. While established markets like China, Europe, and the United States are seen as leaders in EV adoption, the increasing participation of emerging markets and new players could disrupt the global landscape. This challenges the perception that established players will dominate the market indefinitely, highlighting the dynamic nature of the automotive industry. These counterintuitive insights illustrate the complexity of the electric vehicle transition and the multifaceted factors influencing its trajectory across different sectors and regions. The report forecasts a 50% expansion in electric vehicle EV adoption across 4 key sectors: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy by 2025, driven by favorable policies and market dynamics. While the report presents valuable insights into the growth trajectory of EVs, several significant aspects may be overlooked by readers. 1. Regional disparities in EV adoption. Despite the global push towards electrification, the report highlights significant regional disparities. For instance, China is expected to dominate the EV market, accounting for nearly 60% of global sales in 2023 and expecting to surpass a 50% share for new electric vehicles by 2025. In contrast, the United States and Europe, while making strides, remain behind. This disparity is crucial because it indicates that while some regions are rapidly adopting EVs, others may lag due to infrastructural, political, or financial hurdles. Understanding these regional dynamics is essential for stakeholders aiming to invest or operate in the EV market, as they reveal potential opportunities and risks. 2. Impact of policy variability. The report underscores the importance of government policies in driving EV adoption, including tax credits, subsidies, and emissions regulations. However, it also reveals that the efficacy of these policies can vary significantly by country. For example, while government incentives have spurred growth in China, the phase-out of subsidies in Germany has led to a drop in EV sales. This variability is significant because it suggests that policy stability is critical for sustaining growth in EV adoption. Investors and manufacturers need to monitor changes in policy and regulatory frameworks closely to adapt their strategies accordingly. 3. Consumer behavior and market dynamics. A noteworthy trend identified is the growing consumer preference for larger electric vehicles, particularly SUVs, which could pose challenges for achieving emissions reduction targets. While larger vehicles offer higher margins for manufacturers, they also require more substantial battery resources, raising concerns about sustainability and resource consumption. This shift in consumer behavior towards larger models might not align with climate goals, which emphasize the reduction of overall vehicle emissions. Understanding consumer preferences is vital for manufacturers as it affects product development and marketing strategies. 4. Electrification of public transportation. The report anticipates that electric buses will reach 30% of global bus sales by 2035, yet this transition is often underappreciated. Public transportation electrification is a critical factor in urban emissions reduction strategies and can significantly affect air quality in metropolitan areas. Additionally, the push for electric buses supported by government funding initiatives reflects a broader commitment to sustainable transport solutions. Stakeholders in urban planning and environmental policy should prioritize this sector, as investments in electric public transportation can yield substantial long-term benefits. 5. Integration with renewable energy. The report emphasizes the synergy between EV adoption and renewable energy sources. The anticipated increase in electricity demand from EVs must be met with greener energy solutions to achieve net zero emissions goals. The potential for EVs to serve as energy storage systems could facilitate this integration, allowing for better management of energy demand and supply. This aspect is crucial for energy policymakers and utility companies as it highlights the need for a holistic approach to energy management that encompasses both transportation and power generation sectors. 6. Long-term sustainability challenges. While the report focuses on the growth of EV adoption, it also raises questions about the long-term sustainability of this transition. The production of batteries for electric vehicles requires significant amounts of critical minerals, raising concerns about supply chain sustainability and environmental impact. Overlooking these supply chain dynamics could lead to bottlenecks in production and increased costs. Stakeholders must prioritize sustainable sourcing and recycling initiatives to mitigate these challenges, ensuring that the electrification of transportation does not come at the expense of ecological integrity. 7. Emerging markets and economic factors. The report highlights that many emerging and developing economies (EMDEs) are setting ambitious electrification targets, particularly for two- and three-wheelers and public transportation. However, these countries often lack the financial resources for large-scale deployment and face challenges related to electricity access. The economic viability of EVs in these markets is contingent on local conditions, such as infrastructure development and financing options. Recognizing the unique challenges faced by EMDEs is vital for international stakeholders looking to expand their presence in these markets. Conclusion. The report's projection of a 50% expansion in EV adoption is both optimistic and significant, yet it is essential to delve deeper into the nuances that could affect this growth. By considering regional disparities, policy impacts, consumer behavior, integration with renewable energy, long-term sustainability, and challenges in EMDEs, stakeholders can develop more robust strategies to navigate the evolving landscape of electric vehicles. The future of transportation hinges on a multifaceted approach that addresses these critical dimensions, ensuring that the transition to electric mobility is both effective and equitable. 1. Automotive sector growth and market dynamics. The automotive sector is expected to experience a significant shift, with electric vehicle EV sales projected to reach 40 to 50% of total automotive sales by 2030. In 2023, nearly 14 million electric cars were sold globally, with China accounting for 60% of sales, followed by Europe and the United States. This trend is driven by strong policy support and increasing consumer demand, particularly in China, where the government aims for new energy vehicles to exceed 50% of sales by 2025. This market dynamic indicates a robust trajectory for the electrification of personal transport, highlighting the need for manufacturers to adapt their strategies to meet the growing demand for EVs. 2. Public transportation and electric buses. The public transportation sector is poised for growth in electric vehicle adoption, particularly electric buses. By 2035, electric buses are expected to constitute 30% of global bus sales, with countries like the UK and India leading the charge through government funding initiatives. India targets 50,000 electric buses on the road by 2027. While several Latin American cities are also transitioning to electric bus fleets. This segment's expansion underscores the importance of electrification in reducing urban emissions and enhancing public transport sustainability, as well as the potential for significant market opportunities for bus manufacturers and suppliers of related technologies. 3. Logistics and heavy-duty vehicles. The electrification of logistics and heavy-duty vehicles, while slower compared to light-duty vehicles, is gaining momentum. Projections indicate that electric medium and heavy-duty trucks may account for 20 to 30% of sales in major markets by 2035, boosted by new emissions standards in the US and EU. The Global Memorandum of Understanding on Zero-Emission Medium and Heavy-Duty Vehicles, signed by 33 countries, aims for 100% zero-emission sales by 2040. This shift is crucial for reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the logistics sector, which is a significant contributor to global emissions. The evolving regulatory landscape and technological advancements are expected to catalyze further progress in this area. 4. Renewable energy integration and charging infrastructure. The surge in electric vehicle adoption is inherently linked to the growth of renewable energy sources and the development of charging infrastructure. As the demand for EVs increases, so does the need for greener electricity solutions to meet this demand sustainably. The integration of EVs into energy systems presents an opportunity to enhance grid stability and optimize energy use. Governments and private sectors must prioritize investments in charging infrastructure to support the anticipated rise in EV numbers, as well as to facilitate the transition to a cleaner energy future. The interplay between EV adoption and renewable energy will be critical in achieving net zero emissions goals globally. 1. The transition to rail electrification in the United Kingdom 1960s to 1990s. The UK rail network underwent significant electrification from the 1960s onwards, with a notable push in the 1990s. This transition was aimed at reducing reliance on diesel engines, lowering emissions, and improving the efficiency of rail transport. By the early 2000s, approximately 40% of the rail network was electrified. The initiative was driven by government policies, technological advancements, and a growing public demand for sustainable transport options. The impact on emissions and operational efficiency was profound, showcasing how strong policy support and public acceptance can accelerate the adoption of cleaner technologies. 2. The rise of hybrid and electric buses in Shenzhen, China 2010s. Shenzhen is recognized as a pioneering city in the adoption of electric buses. In 2017, the city committed to converting its entire fleet of over 16,000 public buses to electric. This ambitious initiative was backed by substantial government funding and support, aiming to tackle severe air pollution issues. The result was a complete transition to electric buses within a few years, significantly reducing emissions and setting a global benchmark for electric public transportation. The shift not only highlighted the effectiveness of electric vehicles in urban settings but also demonstrated the potential for large-scale public transport electrification driven by robust policy frameworks. 3. The California Zero-Emission Vehicle ZEV Mandate 1990s present. California's ZEV mandate, introduced in the 1990s, requires a certain percentage of vehicle sales by major automakers to be zero-emission vehicles. This policy has significantly influenced the automotive industry, prompting manufacturers to invest heavily in electric vehicle technology. Over the decades, the mandate has evolved, adapting to technological advancements and market conditions. The impact has been substantial, spurring innovation and increasing the availability of electric vehicles in the market. The mandate has positioned California as a leader in electric vehicle adoption and has inspired similar policies across other states and countries, showcasing the critical role of regulatory frameworks in shaping the automotive landscape towards sustainability. Future outlook: predictions for electric vehicle adoption by 2025. Overview. The electric vehicle EV market is on a trajectory of significant growth, with a projected 50% expansion in adoption across four key sectors: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy, by 2025. This growth is driven by a combination of technological advancements, supportive government policies, and increasing consumer demand, all aimed at reducing carbon emissions and combating climate change. 1. Automotive sector. Sales growth. Global electric car sales are expected to reach approximately 17 million by 2025, marking a significant increase from 14 million in 2023. As consumer preferences shift, electric vehicles could account for 40% to 50% of total automotive sales by 2030. Regional leadership. China is poised to lead this expansion, with a forecasted electric vehicle sales share surpassing 50% by 2025. This aligns with China's new energy vehicle roadmap, indicating that electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) could represent over two-thirds of total sales by 2030. Market dynamics. The trend towards larger vehicles, particularly SUVs, is expected to continue. However, the demand for more affordable small electric models will grow as manufacturers aim to attract a wider customer base. 2. Public transportation. Electric buses. By 2025, electric buses are projected to comprise around 30% of global bus sales, driven by government funding initiatives. Countries like India aim to deploy 50,000 electric buses by 2027, showcasing a strong commitment to electrifying public transport. Long-term goals. By 2035, nearly 1 million electric buses could be sold globally, indicating a robust transition towards zero-emission public transport systems. 3. Logistics and heavy-duty vehicles. Electrification of trucks. The adoption of electric medium and heavy-duty trucks is anticipated to increase, with estimates suggesting that they could represent 20% to 30% of sales in major markets by 2035. This growth will be bolstered by new emissions standards enacted in the US and EU. Global commitments. The Global Memorandum of Understanding on Zero-Emission Medium and Heavy-Duty Vehicles aims for 100% zero-emission sales by 2040, reflecting a collective international push towards sustainable logistics. 4. Renewable energy integration. Synergy with renewables. The demand for EVs is intricately linked to the growth of renewable energy sources. By 2025, the increasing electricity demand will be met through greener energy solutions, essential for achieving net zero emissions goals. Infrastructure development. Investments in charging infrastructure will be crucial to support the anticipated rise in electric vehicle adoption. Governments are expected to enhance their commitments towards building extensive charging networks, facilitating a smoother transition to electric mobility. Key drivers for growth. 1. Government policies. The role of government policies, including tax incentives, subsidies, and emissions regulations, is critical in promoting EV adoption. Countries with ambitious targets and strong policy frameworks will likely see faster growth rates. 2. Technological advancements. Advances in battery technology coupled with reductions in battery costs will enhance the affordability and attractiveness of electric vehicles. By 2025, improvements in battery efficiency and range are expected to alleviate consumer concerns regarding EV usability. 3. Consumer demand. A growing environmental consciousness among consumers will drive increased demand for electric vehicles, as more affordable models enter the market. A broader demographic is anticipated to shift towards EVs. Long-term implications. The transition to electric vehicles across automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy sectors represents a critical step towards achieving global climate goals. The anticipated 50% increase in EV adoption by 2025 is not just a market trend, it signifies a broader societal shift towards sustainable practices. In summary, the future outlook for electric vehicle adoption by 2025 is optimistic, with robust growth expected across key sectors. This transition is underpinned by supportive policies, technological advancements, and evolving consumer preferences, all driving towards a more sustainable and electrified future.